20 months in the making, the 2021 Absa Cape Epic was greener than any of the March editions. The October Epic will be one for the record books. A memorable event for the delay from March 2020, the compact field of under 300 teams, and the lush, rich green early summer backdrop. The racing was captivating too, as the men's field produced 5 different stage winners in the race's first 7 days, while the women's event was dominated by an exciting young team. It all began with a prologue at the University of Cape Town on Sunday. There, the two 91 Songo specialised teams got their races off to the best possible starts. Both the men's combination of Matt Beers and Jordan Saru, as well as the women's pair of Sina Fry and Laura Stigger, took a minute and 30-odd second lead into the first marathon stage. Behind them, BMC KTM were the slightly surprising second fastest team in the men's race, while Salusmed and Faces CST were very evenly matched. Stage 1 saw Series host the Absa Cape Epic for the first time in over a decade. The rugged Ilsefontein trails brought BMC KTM's general classification challenge to a shuddering halt, while Team Bulls' 2 teams excelled. Ujsuba and Simon Schneller took the stage victory ahead of Bulls 2, while Canyon Northwave and 91 Songo Specialized followed close behind. In the women's race, Sina Fry and Laura Stigger proved their prologue victory was no flash in the pan as they rode to a dominant win. The first transition day of the race required teams to conquer the Witzenberg Valley single tracks on their way from Ceres to Saronsburg and Tilbach. 91 Songo Specialized men and women won out at the end of the challenging course, looking resplendent in their yellow and orange Assos Leaders jerseys. Ariane Luthi and Robin de Groot had battled their way into second on the women's general classification, while Andreas Seerwold and Martin Stosek were Matt Beers and Jordan Saru's nearest rivals in the men's. The fourth day of the race and the third long stage featured a route which circumnavigated the Tilbach Valley. It also included the toughest climb of the race, Van Ties Pass. Canyon Northwave's Andreas Seerwold and Martin Stosek used the pass to force 91 Songo Specialized onto the back foot. The German-Czech team's stage win shaved 30 seconds off Matt Beers and Jordan Saru's advantage. Meanwhile, Sina Fry and Laura Stigger continued their relentless hoovering up of stage and Dimension Data Hotspot Prize honours. Stage 4 started with drama. The previous day's stage winners withdrew overnight as Martin Stosek suffered from a stomach bug. The same bug lay Simon Schneller low, causing him and Ujsuba to drop out of the general classification battle. With their nearest rivals out of the race, 91 Songo Specialized did not need to pursue Buff Scott too closely when Hans Becking and Jose Diaz made the stage-winning break. 91 Songo Specialized rode to another dominant victory in the women's race. For the second day in a row, on stage 5, Buff Scott proved to be the team to beat. Hans Becking and Jose Diaz proved their win on the previous day was anything but a flash in the pan as they went on a solo break in the latter phases of the stage. Matt Beers and Jordan Saru shadowed the Bulls 2 team, who'd moved into second overall after Canyon Northwave and Bulls 1's issues on the previous day. Sina Fry and Laura Stigger excelled in the massive climbs and long single tracks. The rain poured overnight ahead of stage 6. This meant that the stage had to be altered for rider safety. It also led to dramatically muddy visuals. Punctures scuppered Buff Scott's chances of a third successive stage win. Later, Bulls 2 sprinted to their first victory of the race. The women's race saw its most exciting stage, as Faces CST took the fight to 91 Songo Specialized, though Sina Fry and Laura Stigger still managed to maintain their perfect record of stage wins. Ahead of the final stage in the men's general classification, 91 Songo Specialized Matt Beers and Jordan Saru held a 6 minute and 38 second lead over Bulls 2's Martin Fry and Simon Stiebjan. The battle for third was the point of interest for the day as Trek Pirelli started the stage with just 46 seconds to the Buff Scott pair. Tiger Eurosteel 2 had a comfortable advantage in the Absa African jersey competition. Sina Fry and Laura Stigger's domination of the women's category meant they started the grand finale with a 30 minute and 12 second advantage over Faces CST. Ariane Luthi and Robin de Groot of Team Salusmed started the day in third, having conceded time to Candice Dill and Mariska Strauss on stages 5 and 6. The trail to Val de Vie, the final stage of the 2021 Absa Cape Epic, was anything but a free ride. It was 68 kilometres long and featured 1,850 metres of climbing. Ascents like Beulah, the Dimension Data Haverqua Climb, Protea and Freedom Struggle kept the teams on their toes, while the Bone Rattler Descent is the final Land Rover technical terrain. Thereafter it's across the Berg River Basin and into the expansive grounds of Val de Vie Estate for the last single track run to the grand finale's final finish line. With 7 days behind them, the men prepared for the final challenge of the race.
Crazy to think that we're on the last day already. It's just been such a blur. But yeah, super excited, but nervous. I think that's normal. But yeah, we'll just race it like another day. You don't think about the end, and hopefully all goes well.
Rolling off the start line for the last time, the men knew there would be a tough 68 kilometres ahead. Buff Scott's Hans Becking and Jose Diaz had time to make up on the general classification and would be looking to put Trek Pirelli on the back foot from as early in the stage as possible. The men's race underway, the elite women were next up on the Wellington start line.
Feels really good, but on the other side also a little bit sad that it's already the last stage, but it was quite tough, so I'm also looking forward to rest a little bit after.
For the final time in the 17th Absa Cape Epic, the women's race got underway. The day, as with every stage starting in Wellington, featured climbing from the gun, and 91 Songo Specialized appeared to have the bit between their teeth. They were obviously eager to reach Val de Vie to celebrate their 8 untamed days of mountain biking. The final stage offered little opportunity for the top men's teams to find their legs. The pace was hot from the off as squads who felt they might be in with a shot at a stage victory attacked the first climb. But Duitskloof was just a taste of the mountains to come. But it provided the terrain necessary for the likes of Bulls 2, Page Eurosteel 2 and Buff Scott to string out the field. As the gradients ramped up, riders began to struggle. The first important team to lose contact was the Trek Pirelli combination. Samueli Porro and Fabian Rabensteiner had started the stage in third overall, but were at risk of losing their podium place to Buff Scott's Hans Becking and Jose Diaz. Especially as Becking and Diaz were on the charge again, leading the men's field onto the Haverkwa ascent. Bulls 2 were also in a spot of bother. Martin Fry and Simon Stevjan could not match the pace set by Buff Scott. They did have Urs Huber and the recovering Simon Schneller for company. At the front, Hans Becking and Jose Diaz had 2 targets in mind. They were chasing their 3rd stage win, but more importantly, they were racing to gain time on their general classification rivals. Not knowing how far back Trek Pirelli were, they were fighting for every second across every metre of the route. Thus, they were not overly concerned when 91 Songo Specialized hit them to the Dimension Data Hotspot prize. The 5th member of the highly selective front group was Type Dev Nano times Tristan Nokier. His partner, Wessel Boerter, had withdrawn early in the stage, unable to continue due to the injuries he'd been nursing since his crash on stage 5. Freed of team responsibilities, Nokier could ride to his limits as long as he did not interfere with the racing. Having not been able to regain contact with the lead group on the descent which followed the Dimension Data hotspot, Bulls 2 were still climbing in pursuit. But after distancing Bulls 1, they would be chasing solo for the rest of the day. From the summit of the Protea climb, the stage unfurled ahead, offering glorious views to Val de Vie. The women's field were pulled through the early kilometres by the Absa African red jersey wearers Candice Lill and Mariska Strauss. Having had their 2 best days of the race on stages 5 and 6, the Faces CST team are looking to get one better than the day before and turn a second into a first. But to do so, they would have to outclimb 91 Songo Specialized. The Brooklyn Bridge single track provided brief downhill thrills before the climbing recommenced on Beulah. Soon the leading women's group had been trimmed down to just the top 3 teams. And Salusmed was starting to struggle too. On the steepest ramps to the Dimension Data hotspot, 91 Songo Specialized made their move, rapidly distancing Faces CST and climbing solo towards the highest point of the stage. Sina Fry and Laura Stigger summited in the lead, adding a 3rd Dimension Data hotspot prize to their 7 stage wins. Mariska Strauss and Candice Lill followed the race leaders 55 seconds later. The South Africans would have a big chase on their hands if they were to catch Fry and Stigger. Team Salusmed's Ariane Luthi and Robin de Groot summited in 3rd. 91 Songo Specialized's only relative weakness throughout the race had been their pace setting on broad gravel roads. But the motivation of knowing every pedal stroke was one closer to the final finish line kept them surging on at an unassailable speed. Initially, Facer CST gave chase as best they could, but as they got feedback on the growing gap between them and the leaders, the wind went out of their sails. With their chances of stage victory ebbing, the motivation to put themselves in the hurt locker faded. While Salusmed's efforts were derailed by time lost fixing a puncture. Having suffered mechanicals and punctures themselves, Buff Scott were making up for lost time on the final stage. Jose Diaz and Hans Becking swapped turns on the front, keeping the tempo relentlessly high. By the mid-phases of the day, they knew they'd wrestled third on the general classification away from Trek Pirelli, yet they could not slow for fear of the Italians regaining it. So they charged on, not pausing to admire the wildlife, with Matt Beers, Jordan Saru and Tristan Nokia in tow. Martin Fry and Simon Stibjan were limiting their losses behind, occasionally spying the leaders ahead. On the freedom struggle climb, Diaz and Becking continued to set the pace. Though they were racing full gas, they could not distance the men in yellow, or their shadow, the lone Type Def Nanotime rider. Behind, Frey and Stibjan were still limiting their losses. But further back, Paga Eurosteel were simply racing to complete their Absa Cape Epic journey. While Trek Pirelli were coming to terms with the fact that their podium spot had evaporated on the final day. The last opportunity for potential disaster was the Bone Rattler descent. The day's Land Rover technical terrain. Steep and littered with loose rocks, it provided a final few moments of white-knuckle tension. A puncture there could still ruin the finish line celebrations the leaders were trying not to envisage prematurely. Fortunately for Matt Beers, Jordan Saru and South African mountain biking fans, the 91 Zongo Specialized team reached the trails of Val de Vie without any drama. Rounding the polo fields, their overall victory was secured. Hans Becking and Jose Diaz crossed the finish line first on the day, claiming their third stage win at the Absa Cape Epic. But all eyes were on Matt Beers and Jordan Saru. The 91 Zongo Specialized team had worn yellow from UCT to Val de Vie. They had overcome moments of hardship and showcased their prowess as the best team in the race. There could be no doubting that they were worthy champions of the 17th Absa Cape Epic. Martin Frey and Simon Stibjan Bulls 2 completed the podium on the day to wrap up second overall.
It's been an incredible week. I mean, to hold the jersey from the prologue to the end every day, riding smart. I think we rode a really clever race, and we did everything we could and the whole team to make sure that we were 100% ready every day. I mean, everyone worked tirelessly behind the scenes. There's so many people, and I mean, for this to happen is just incredible. I used to watch the videos of the Specialized guys when Kulhavi would win, and I was like, man. And now I'm like in the same team setup and winning. It's just, I can't even explain to you. It was only like 4 years ago that I was watching those videos, and to be here and doing it is just ridiculous. Being a South African and winning this is, obviously it means a lot to everyone, but I think for SA rider, it's massive. It's really, really huge, and it's going to stay very close to my heart for my rest of my life.
Yeah, it's crazy feeling. It's a crazy feeling to win the Cape Epic. I'm not a marathon guy, and to win 8 consecutive days of racing, it's just amazing. And the partnership with Matt was just crazy, and it's a lot of emotions for me because I lost my grandfather last week, and I thought about him today, and yeah, it's just unbelievable to win this year Cape Epic.
Hans Becking and Jose Diaz.
Buff Scott MTB's third stage win of the race was completed in 2 hours, 49 minutes and 28 seconds. 91 Songo Specialized were 4 seconds back, with Bulls 2 completing the podium on the day. Tiger Eurosteel were the first Absa African jersey team home in 5th overall. Matt Bies and Jordan Saru's final time after 8 days of racing, 25 hours, 17 minutes and 28 seconds. Martin Fry and Stephen Steve-John were second overall, 8 minutes and 59 seconds down on the race winners. Hans Becking and Jose Diaz were third at 14 minutes and 34 seconds. The Absa African jersey winners Philip Bass and Peter de Toy of Tiger Eurosteel were 6th on the general classification. The UCI women were also nearing the end of their Absa Cape Epic adventures. 91 Songo Specialized were still out front on their own and extending their advantage over Faces CST. Sina Fry and Laura Stigger once again showing that they were simply in a class of their own. The intensity had gone out of Mariska Strauss and Candice Lill's chase. They had reset their priority to finish safely. It was perhaps ironic that the final stage contained so much of 91 Songo Specialized's least favoured terrain. Sina Fry and Laura Stigger were having to work hard for their victory, racing through long stretches of smooth roads. While others would have chosen smooth over rough, the women in orange would probably have preferred a technical single-track filled final 30 kilometres. For Faces CST though, the smoother roads made it easier to protect their red Absa African jerseys. The final switchback single track and the Freedom Struggle climb took the leaders to within sight of the finish line on Val de Vie's polo fields. Just the Land Rover technical terrain could trip them up. Further down the trail, Candice Lill led Mariska Strauss up the last climb, while Ariane Luthi was setting the tempo for Team Salusmed and Robin de Groot. 91 Songo Specialized flew hassle-free through the Land Rover technical terrain before swooping into the Val de Vie trails. The vast lifestyle estate boasts 40 kilometres of routes within its boundaries and provided a flowing final few kilometres to the 2021 Absa Cape Epic. Rounding the final corner, Sina Fry and Laura Stigger could soak up their 7th stage win and their emphatic Absa Cape Epic title. While they have a long way to go to emulate their Specialized racing mentor Annika Langveld, they have already broken an untamed record the Dane does not hold, a clean sweep of stage wins. Faces CST's Mariska Strauss and Candice Lill finished second, sealing second overall, and the Absa African red jerseys in the process. Ariane Luthi and Robin de Groot were third for Salusmed, wrapping up the stage and general classification podium places.
Yeah, I think for me this is like huge, and like for this season, like I had an Olympic medal, like a silver one, and then the world champion title in XCC, and then a bronze medal, and now also to have like winning the Cape Epic, that means a lot, and it just says what a crazy season it was.
91 Songo Specialized, Sina Fry and Laura Stigger.
91 Songo Specialized stage winning time was 3 hours, 21 minutes and 50 seconds. Faces CST were 10 minutes and 46 seconds down on the day, while Team Salusmed were a further minute back.
Songo Specialized, Sina Fry and Laura Stigger.
Sina Fry and Laura Stigger's accumulated time for the untamed African mountain bike race was 30 hours, 39 minutes and 52 seconds. 40 minutes and 58 seconds separated them from Mariska Strauss and Candice Lill in second, while Ariane Luthi and Robin de Groot were 52 minutes and 45 seconds back. For the second time, Laura and Sebastian Stark proved to be an unstoppable force in the Virgin Active mixed category. The 2019 champions defended their Absa Cape Epic crowns in fine style, winning every stage. The husband and wife's team's cohesion was truly impressive to behold. Having inherited the Dimension Data Masters jerseys when Carl Platt withdrew due to illness on stage 2, Craigie Ryan Andrew Duvenage rode unchallenged through the rest of the race, clocking up 6 stage wins in the process. In the Grand Masters category, the serial Absa Cape Epic category winners Bart Brenchens and Bartie Bucher battled it out throughout the week. Brenchens and his CST post-NL Bafang teammate Peter Bessel notched up 7 stage wins in the process. Laura and Sebastian Stark were joined on the Virgin Active Mixed category podium by Benjamin Michael and Janine Schneider, as well as Michael and Evelyn Trepter. The Dimension Data Masters podium places were filled by Craigie Ryan, Andrew Duvenage, Roland Müller and André Bachmann, plus Rein Lond and Argo Rotmetz. Bart Brenchens added a second Grand Masters title to his 4 Dimension Data Masters and 1 Elite Men's Absa Cape Epic title when he stood atop the podium with Peter Wessel. They were joined by Bartie Bucher and Hans-Jörg Gerber, as well as Carsten Bresser and one of the inaugural Elite Men's champions, Mani Heymans. Bauer Van Young Guns' margin of victory over Bicycle Garage Mixed was 1 hour and 9 minutes in the Virgin Active Mixed category. Family Trepter were a further 1 hour and 4 minutes back. Restonic's comprehensive victory was achieved by 1 hour and 15 minutes with Skypix in second and Ratabas in third. Only 5 minutes and 40 seconds separated CST Post NL Bafang and Bix's Bike Holiday in the Grand Masters race. The Absa Grand Masters were third. Alongside Lorenzo Leroux, Luyanda Tobingunya stepped up from second in 2019 to win 5 stages on his way to the Exaro Jersey title for Fairtree Canada 1. Lorenzo Leroux and Luyanda Tobingunya stood atop the Exaro Jersey podium. They were joined by Tlotlo Selala and Tlalalisani Ndebele, along with Nkululeko Pewa and Kusaselihle Ngidi. Fairtree Canada 1's margin of victory was 30 minutes and 1 second over Exaro PWC 1. Pewa and Ngidi were 1 hour and 16 minutes down on Leroux and Tobingunya.
Val de Vie.